Can you see my screen, guys? Is my screen visible? Okay, thank you for confirming. Let me minimize everything. All right, we'll start with today's session. Until yesterday, we have covered some of the topics related to Scrapy, which are more related to components of Scrapy, like how you can say pipelines work. Okay, so the first topic that we discussed yesterday were pipelines.py. Then we discussed about items.py. All right, how these specific Python files within Scrapy they are used and how basically you can in store the data in databases. So we basically store the data in two databases. I think SQLite 3, and we also stored it in MySQL. SQLite 3 and MySQL. These were relational databases on which we stored our data. Then later, until this point, I think we have covered. And today we wanted to discuss about storing data in MongoDB. So MongoDB is a relational database in which we can store the data. Also, I would like to discuss a couple of more points today. So MongoDB, we will take maybe at the later half of the session, because I think you already know how to store the data in a database. So it's just that this database is a non-relational database or NoSQL database. So but almost the method and process would be same. So let's start with something new, new topic. And during the end of the session, probably if time permits, we'll start with MongoDB, or else I'll take it at some later session. I'll cover it. No, that's not an issue, but I'll start with some new topic today. Later today, we'll start with the how to crawl multiple pages. So you might think that I'm talking about pagination over here, but no, I'm not. Pagination is different and crawling multiple pages is different. So how to crawl multiple pages with Scrapy, of course, is what we'll be discussing. Later, we'll be discussing about implementing pagination. So implementing pagination in Scrapy, which means that you have multiple web pages within Scrapy, and then how you navigate from the first page to second until the end of that, you can say website, and scrape data out of it. So that is nothing but pagination. Then we will also discuss about how to, let's say if your website has a login feature, wherein you have to log in with credentials, then how do we implement login functionality in Scrapy? Okay, so this involves you to deal with some functions within Scrapy. We'll discuss more on that later. Also, if time permits, we'll talk about bypassing uh, bypassing restrictions. So over here, there are two topics we'll be covering. Let's call it as 8A. Here we'll be talking specifically about user agents. We have already spoke about user agents when we are discussing about this beautiful soup and requests library. When we, I think, implemented IMDb scraper through beautiful soup and request, we spoke about user agents. But what we have not spoken or discussed about is proxy. So we will try to implement some proxy agents in Scrapy framework. And that's all. Yeah. So, I mean, there are many topics. Maybe few of them will cover today, few of them will cover tomorrow. So, but this is something which is as per the agenda that we'll be covering. This is with respect to the web application that we have in place, which is Codes to Scrape. Okay. So we have selected that site for learning purpose, but after that, we'll be taking some complex examples of some real-time sites that we use on a daily basis. And we'll try to also discuss about, you can say, so for specifically for proxy, we will try to implement it through Python packages. Plus, we'll try to implement it through some third-party services. Okay, so there are a few third-party services that will give you proxy rotation capability that you can integrate within your Scrapy script, and then you would be able to uh, scrape that specific target website, but using proxy rotation service. Okay, user agents, we can basically use Google bot over here, or you can also use over here Python packages. Python packages. All right. Enough of discussion. Let's move to the. I hope everyone is clear with this agenda, what we will be discussing from now onwards, and let's move to the project area wherein we have written all of our code. So we are inside the web scraper demos folder, which is the location wherein we'll be writing all of our codes during each session. Inside Scrapy demos, this is a virtual environment. We are inside Scrapy demos folder, and here we are created a codes demo project. This project basically scrapes codes to scrape.com. This copy I think I might have created. Yeah, today I have created sometime. So codes demo folder is our location. I'll open the VS Code over here. All right. Okay. Now we will be, I'll close a few files over here. Clear the screen. Um, until this point, I think we have covered everything, and I'll just remove the below scores code. Okay, I'll paste it over here. Because that is something which we have not yet implemented. So I've just removed it. So until this point, we have implemented wherein I'll just walk you through the flow of this spider, and quickly we'll start with today's topic. So what we are doing is we are basically created this spider with the name codes scrape. Here there is an allowed domains variable. It's a class variable because it's defined inside a class. So there are 4 class variables. I think I don't know why I have written this. Remove this. So there are 3 class variables: name, allowed domains, start URLs. Okay. Name is the name of your spider. Allowed domains is the domain on which your spider can scrape, but it cannot go outside this domain. So some pages have some other links as well, right? Like social media links and all. So it would not go ahead and scrape Facebook and Instagram if it's present on your target site. Start URLs is basically a class variable again. here you can specify multiple URLs, 1, 2, 5, 10, whatever URLs you want. On each of this URL, Scrapy will send a request to that specific URL, and the response will be sent to the parse function over here. So inside the response argument, you will be getting the response of that specific website. Okay, so if everything goes correct, so with the 200 status code, the response in the HTML as an HTML object will be returned back to the argument over here inside the response argument. Now, the intention over here is like if you go to codes2scrape.com, sorry, not this one. If you go to the codes2scrape.com, thing, yeah, which is already opened over here. So we have to scrape the codes along with the author and with the tags. To perform this activity, we basically saw when we inspected the specific web page that each of these codes is present inside a container, okay, which is basically a list. So there are 10 list items over here. And what we did is we basically get all of those lists. So we created selectors over here, and we tried to basically get all of those codes inside all div codes using the CSS selector. Now we created a for loop which basically iterates on all of these codes, and in each iteration we are getting the code, the author, and the tag through these respective selectors over here. Once we get the code author tags, we have basically tried to yield those attributes through the yield keyword. So here from line number 31 to line number 33, you can see we have first initially yield or returned those codes. So when we run this spider on the terminal, you basically see a dictionary with codes, author, and tags. But later we also learned how we can temporarily store this data inside the items.py file. So inside the items.py file, we have created a attribute over here, like whatever you are trying to scrape, those attributes you can define over here. So we are trying to scrape codes, tags, and author. We have defined in attribute in item.py, and these are present within the class codes demo item. So what we have to do is we have to basically create an object of this class. To store data inside the class, we have to create an object of this class. So where we have to create the object, we have to create the object over here because we'll be using that object here to store that code, author, and tags. So that object that has been created is items. It is created from the codes demo item class, but to create an object from this class needs to be imported from items.py, which is being imported at line number 2. We are saying from items import class codes demo item. So hence we are creating an object from this class. This is just object oriented programming, right? So we are creating object from this class, and now this object have access to all the attributes within the class. So at line number 35, 36, 37, the object items is accessing the codes attribute, author attribute, and tags attribute within that class, and storing the actual code, author, and tag. All of this happens in a for loop. So each time when a code is fetched, it is getting stored in the items object inside the codes attribute, author attribute, and tags attribute. And then we are trying to return it. Hence, we at the terminal, we would be seeing a list, and within that list, we will be seeing a dictionary with code, author, tag as key, and the respective values as its values, dictionary values. So this is what we have done so far. And then later we basically went ahead in pipelines.py. We have created 2 classes over here. One is codes demo pipeline, which is I think the default class present, but here we have written the logic to save the data in SQLite 3 database, and then store MySQL, which is another class that we created to store data in MySQL database from yesterday's session. And we have also enabled these pipelines in settings.py. As you can see, I think I might have commented later, but yes, if you want to enable it, if you want those to be enabled, you need to uncomment these lines from 65 to 68. Right now I have commented it, and that's okay because we are done with that implementation and we need not store anything in the database. So we are looking at some new topics today. I'll close items.py, and now coming back to your quotes_script.py. So the next point as per our agenda today is we are discussing about how to crawl multiple pages. How to crawl multiple pages. Now, to crawl multiple pages, we basically need to understand how this website is implemented. So if you go to quotes_script.com, here there can be multiple scenarios. Like if you are sending a request to this page, there are other links over here. Like there is one link, or there are a couple of links related to tags. So if I just click on the tags change, you can see over here, the URL gets changed over here. Now, all the change related tags, all the tags which have all the quotes that have a tag change should be represented over here. Or let's say these are the top 10 tags. So let's say all the quotes related to the love tag would be represented over here, would be displayed over here. Okay, all of this is present inside your main page, quotes_to-script.com. So now if you want to scrape the links which are present on the home page, then you have to specifically define a logic within the spider so that all the links which are present in the page, or some of the links which are present in the page, the request is sent to those links, and then you can get a response, and then you can basically perform web scraping on those specific URL. Okay, so let's take one example. You have a next button over here. Okay, the moment I click the next button, you go to the next page, and then if I click the next button again, you go to the page number 3. So although you can see that the page numbers are getting changed over here, and imagine that if you had a pagination implemented on this page, you would have seen the you can say the fields of 1, 2, 3, 4 until last page number, like I think it is 10 over here. So you would have seen those clickable buttons in this case, wherein you can click and move to the next page. However, that kind of pagination is not implemented in this specific website, but instead we have the next button. And imagine that once our spider on is on the home page, we want to crawl through subsequent next pages. We want to crawl through subsequent next pages. It means that the spider should go to the next page, then get the data from this next page, and then scrape quotes, author, tags. Once done, it should move to the next page, so on and so forth, until the last page, which I believe is 10. And then there is no next button. So the logic should also include the ability to not go ahead of 10, because if you click 11, I mean, if you go to the 11th page, there is nothing over here and there is no code to scrape. So to create that kind of logic, we have to define some code within our Scrapy spider. So let's go to the VS Code, and below over here, I'll create that logic. So all of the data scrapping is happening within the for loop. So I'll just minimize this for loop so as to avoid any confusion. And here, I'll try to write the logic to crawl to multiple pages. How we would be crawling? We would be crawling using the next button. Okay. Now, important thing to understand over here is that next button, if you try to inspect that next button, let's inspect it. And if you see over here, it's an anchor tag. It's an anchor tag, and inside it, it has an href attribute, and it has a value. Imagine, uh, or just try to understand it in this way, that if we click on this link over here, you can see in the suggestions, it's giving me the complete URL. It is saying https to scrape.com/page/2. So if I click on this, the expectation is that I should move to the next page. I'm not clicking on the next button, but instead I'm clicking on the href attribute. If I click on this, you can see I have moved to the page number 2, and so on and so forth. Again, you can inspect over here, and now it will have a reference to page number 3. And if I click on this, clicking means you're sending a request. So physically, if you're clicking it, that means you're sending the request to that page. So you are at page number 3. So programmatically, what's expected is that you basically access this link from the href attribute, access this value from the href attribute, and then send a request to this link, to this value. The moment you send a request, in return, you will get a response, and then you will do the same scraping activity that you have implemented so far in your project. So what we will be doing is we'll be accessing that specific link. Now, if you want to write an XPath, if you want to write a CSS, anything is fine. So what we'll be doing is, so we have already the virtual environment activated, and the interpreter also looks correct. Sometimes virtual environment does get changed if you are working on multiple different projects. So I always have an habit to check the virtual environment. So that is pointing to the right location. So we are good. Okay. What I'll be doing is I'll be to basically write the CSS and XPath. I normally prefer to open Scrapy shell. So I'll write Scrapy shell and send the request to this homepage, which is codes.scrape.com, and then hit enter. You can do it with selector sub as well. You can do it with any other tool as well. That is up to you. But since we are working with Scrapy, why not use the Scrapy inbuilt capabilities over here? So now you have got a response, as you can see above. It has a status code of 200 sometimes, but this is not the right, it doesn't give the right picture actually, guys, because if you are dealing with dynamic pages, still you will get a status code of 200, but then you won't get the complete DOM within it. Okay, so don't go with this status code. It can be quite deceptive, but I know this site is not that dynamic or that JavaScript heavy, so we can directly start working with response dot XPath, as I always prefer. Then I'll try to write the selector for that. So it's within the list with the class next. So list /list with the class of next. So at the rate class equals to next. Then Inside that you have an anchor tag with an href attribute. So you want to find the value of the href attribute. So I'll write /@href. So we should basically get response.xpath. Okay, this should it be double quotes because that's the way XPaths are written. If you're writing single quotes outside, then inside it should be double quotes. If you're writing single quotes outside, then within the actual XPath, if you have a quote, it should be double quotes, and vice versa. If you're writing double quotes outside, then within the XPath, if you have a requirement to write quote, it should be single quote. Anyways, let's hit enter. You get the element, and now all you need is to write a get function to get that value. Now this is the selector for getting the value. What we can do is we can write a variable. Let's say the name of the variable is next page, and this is the selector for that. Why I've written next page? Because this link over here, if I send a request or if I click on it, it moves to the next page. Hence, just to make it more relevant, I have written next page. The value of next page is /page/2 in this case. Okay. Now, since you get the value of the next page and we want to crawl through multiple pages using the next button, all you need to do is you have to send a request to this next page. But the problem here is you will keep on, until when you will keep on sending the request? 1, 2, 3, 4, how much times? Right? So until that time wherein there is no other page to scrape, that means the 10th page, right? Because I know that this site has total 10 pages. So if I go to the 10th page, after 10th page, there is no 11th page. Okay, there's nothing to scrape over here. So until the 10th page, it should keep on moving. But the problem here is if I explicitly write 10, it becomes a hard-coded script. And tomorrow, if the developer of this web application wants to add 10 more pages, my script will only scrape until 10 pages, and then it won't scrape the remaining 10 pages from 11 to 20. So that would be a drawback of making this hard-coded. So what I want to do is I want to send request to the next pages until the time this value is present. Until the time this value is present. Like over here, you don't have a next button. But before that, at the 10th page, you have a next button. So until the time, okay, not even on 10th page, until the 9th page, you have a next button. 10th page, you will not have a next button, correct? So until the time you have a next button over here, you want to scrape. Indirectly, I mean to say, until the time you have a value over here inside the href attribute, you want to keep on scraping. So I can write over here a condition saying that if next page doesn't have any value, which means if next page is not none, then you send the request to the next page. Okay, then sending request to next page, which means I can use one more function within Scrapy. And the way to implement is you can basically use the return or yield keyword. Basically, yield basically will return in this case. And the response object that you have got over here, the response object that you have got. Okay, so you can use a function called as response dot. Now the function is called as follow. Okay, and over here we have to give us two arguments explicitly. The first argument is the URL to which you want to send the request. In this case, it is this URL, comma, what you want to do once you get a response from that URL. I want to keep on scraping. And where is the scraping logic written? It's written inside the parse function. So I'll
Hi,
have
Ankur.
to call this.
Sorry to interrupt. Where are these functions have written follow and other things?
Sorry, where is the functions?
Follow, response dot follow and response dot other there might have some other functions regarding response. So where
Where
are these definitions for these functions?
where have they documented? You mean to say?
Yes, yes.
It's inside the Scrapy documentation. So if you see the Scrapy documentation,
Because
which
what parameters we need to send them. So
Mhm. Yeah, so it's inside the Scrapy documentation, which we actually visited yesterday, I think, wherein we basically tried to just a second. I'll try to open one of them. Scrapy documentation here. And let's say we were discussing about that response, right? So response dot follow. I'm just searching it inside the search. Okay. So here there is a response dot follow, but I would like to, if we can open this one to see. So as you can see, exactly with the same snippet, you can see over here yield response.follow. So what response.follow is doing, it will basically send the request. Where it will send the request to the next page. So they have described it over here, what exactly it does. And yeah, more elaborate understanding. They have given what all arguments you can pass within it. So this documentation basically is having all that information related to the functions, classes, pipelines, items. You can see items over here. We discussed about item pipeline yesterday, settings.py and all that. Logging we have to discuss, so we'll be discussing it. Is it getting clear? Any questions on that?
yeah,
Okay, just as a side note, I'll copy this and send it on the chat window as well. So docs.scrapy.org, right? Yeah. So what we were doing is we were basically sending the request to the next page. And it expects one more argument, which is the callback argument, which simply means once you send the request to the next page and you get a response, what we need to do. So what's the next action on that next page? Okay. So just as in, if I close all of this, and go to the home page. So imagine we are at this page. The current script basically scrapes everything from here. Now, based on the selector that we have written for the next button, it goes over here, it sends a request to the next page. Now, it goes to the next page. This is page number 2. Now, what it needs to do at page number 2? It again needs to scrape all of that data, which means it needs to scrape quotes, author, tags, and this logic we have already written. It's written inside the parse function. So we need to call this parse function again. So inside the callback argument, I'll provide the parse function. But you cannot call the parse function directly. You have to write self.parse because that parse function is within the class. And all of this that we are writing is within the actual class quotes script spider. So based on the concepts of oops, it simply means that we are referring to this object using the self keyword. Okay, a self is a kind of a pointer pointing to this parse function. Okay. So once we have sent the request to the next page, then it should again call back the parse function and should scrape. Then next page again, third, fourth, fifth, until last page, 10th page. But after 10th page, it will not have a next button. So this condition will result into false. And since this condition will be false, then it will just exit because we are not writing anything after this. We can write some print or statement or some log if we would have implemented log over here. But right now, if we are not writing anything, it will just exit. Okay. So if I save this and try to run, the important takeaway of this specific example is this response.follow. So you have to remember that if you want to send a request, get request to a new URL, all you need is use a function follow. And what is this response? Response is the object, response is the actual response you got from the page, from the first page. So the actual response that you got after sending the requests to the codes to scrape.com, this is the response we are talking about. In this response, you have a function called as follow, and it basically redirects or send a new request to the new page. And then it's up to you. You provide a callback function, or if you write callback equals to none, that simply means that it will only send a request to the new page and it will just end up over there. It will not do anything. So let's move to the terminal over here, and I'll try to run this script to see if all pages are getting scraped or not. Scrapy roll and name of your spider. Code script. Let's run this. So looks like it has scraped a lot of other pages, but instead of going from page by page, let's look at the statistics over here, which is the feature of Scrapy. So these are some additional benefits of using a library like Scrapy, framework like Scrapy, is that everything is very well defined over here. Like you need not write code to understand how many requests you sent and how much response you got. As you can see over here, you have sent 11 requests, which is very much self-explanatory. There are 10 pages. Okay. So 10 requests over there, and one additional request is for robots.txt. It sent a request to robots.txt as well. As you can see over here, robots.txt request count is 1. Hence, it is 11. Also, the response count from robots.txt is 1. Okay, because one request was sent and they got one response. So 10 requests was sent, 11 requests was sent, and we got 11 responses, out of which 10 had status of 200, which means success. One was 404 because robots.txt was not allowed to script. So 404, and other information like date and when it was scraped, how much items got scraped. This is very important. For huge websites, you would also always like to keep a monitor of this specific attribute. Here, 100 items got scraped. 100 items as in those 100 quotes, right? So 100 quotes, 10 quotes per page. All right. So 100 items were scraped, and remaining statistical information you can see. But as you can, as I scroll up, you can see author code tags, and I believe these are from the last pages. Just for a quick verification, I'll check this last code on page number 10. Yeah, looks like that's the one. So it Looks like it has scraped all the 10 pages. Now, as we discussed yesterday, we can store it in a database. We stored in MySQL and Mongo and SQLite yesterday. So we can have that feature implemented. All we need to do is go inside the pipelines.py file. Everything is implemented, but we need to just enable that pipeline. Sorry, not in pipeline. You have to go into the settings.py. And this line 68, 65 to 68 is what you have to enable. So whatever has been scraped now will get stored in this mycodes.db SQLite 3 database and our MySQL database that we saw yesterday, right? Okay, this implementation basically, I hope helped you to understand how you can crawl through multiple pages. Now the same concept can be applied over here instead of next button, which means like if you were at the home page and these were the tags on the right hand side. Okay, these were the tags on the right hand side. And let's say if I would have inspected the tag love tag over here. So all the codes which are present inside the love tag, okay, all the codes which are present inside the love tag. You can see the href attribute value as slash tag slash love. All I needed to do is instead of our next button, we need to fetch the value of href attribute slash tag slash love and scrape this data. Likewise, we can do it for other tags as well: inspirational, life, humor, books, top 10 tags. So these are links present on the home page, right? So we can instruct our spider to go through these links and get the data, scrape the data from these links using a response.follow. And response.follow has the first attribute wherein you pass the URL. But one quick question over here. Let me know if you can, think about this. Here we are not passing the complete URL. You might have seen next page is not a complete URL. Next page is just slash page slash number of the page. Let's say slash page slash 2. So how in this world it basically constructs the whole URL, which is codes to scrape.com slash page slash 2. You're getting my point? What I'm trying to say? If I just print the next page, or even not even needed to print, you know that this selector basically has the value of href attribute slash page slash 2. That's all. So how it basically, because if you just go to slash page slash 2, how it would understand that it is belonging to a domain of codes to scrape.com? It wouldn't, right? So what exactly is present inside the follow method, or what is behind the scenes working so that an entire URL gets constructed from the domain name and then what we are passing inside this next page variable? Any idea? Any suggestions over here? By adding the domain string, we can do, can you please explain that? I actually couldn't get this point by adding domain string. We have not explicitly added over here, like all that we are using is a follow function. Here we are passing slash page slash 2, that's all. And by adding domain string codes to scale. Yeah, that is correct, agreed. But we're not doing that, right? Explicitly, we are not doing it inside the code. So this follow function basically response.follow. So response.follow basically, okay, let me see what exactly you have written. No need to write URL, no need to write URL, join.follow function is doing it by default. Agreed. That is also agreed. That is basically, we just saw join.follow or response.follow will perform the task. But how is what I want to understand. How? that is implemented in the code. If you go into the package of Scrapy or documentation of the Scrapy, that's what they have said over here. Response.follow, somewhere here. Oh yeah. Unlike Scrapy.request, when you send a request, okay, using Scrapy, like if you send a request, whatever URL that you specify inside start URLs, it basically sends a request to that specific URL. Response.follow supports relative URLs directly. That's what they have clearly mentioned over here. Response.follow supports relative URLs directly. No need to call URL join. Okay, so URL join is one another way wherein you have to construct the full URL of the target page that you want to scrape. So response.follow just returns the request instance. You still have to yield that request. And that's why we are using the keyword called as yield over here, because it will just return the request. Okay, so we have to send request to this next page. Yet whatever I have said so far is partial. Okay, I mean, I would really want you to go inside the site packages folder of Scrapy, and where exactly it constructs the full path. Go inside the follow function of Scrapy, and inside the follow function, you're getting my point, what I'm trying to say. There has a logic to basically concatenate everything, your base URL, along with what you pass to the next page. And that is the actual piece of code which allows us to use this for and send the request to this next page, right? Although they have mentioned everything over here, I mean, but still, this is very theoretical, right? Until we have seen it, we don't know it. So can you check the site packages whenever? I mean, not now, later also you can check site packages as well.
Hang
Yes, Amar.
if hang on, this is a straight URL like page one and page two is there. If something different comes, so how it will handle to that?
Different as in?
Different as in there might be some other instead of page slash one or something like page underscore one, yeah, or
Mhm.
page hash one ऐसा कुछ रहा तो how will it handle in that case?
इरिस्पेक्टिव ऑफ वॉट एवर इट इज, यहाँ पे हम कोई कंडीशन नहीं दे रहे ना कि यहाँ पे स्लैश पेज स्लैश वन होना चाहिए या स्लैश पेज स्लैश फाइव होना चाहिए. हम तो बस इतना कह रहे हैं कि जो भी है नेक्स्ट पेज के अंदर एचरेफ एट्रीब्यूट में, राइट, वो आप फेच कीजिए, ठीक है, और उसको हम रिक्वेस्ट सेंड करेंगे. ठीक है, तो जब रिक्वेस्ट सेंड करेंगे तो पूरा यूआरएल, बेस यूआरएल जो आपका है, जो कि आप स्टार्ट यूआरएल्स में डिफाइन कर रहे हैं, दिस, ठीक, उसके बाद क्योंकि एचरेफ एट्रीब्यूट में है इसका मतलब वो एक लिंक है. करेक्ट, एम आई करेक्ट? अगर वो एचरेफ एट्रीब्यूट में है, दैट मीन्स वो एक
Yes,
यूआरएल,
yes, yes.
दैट मीन्स वो एक वेब लिंक है. और अगर वेब लिंक है, दैट मीन्स उसके पास फुल्ली क्वालिफाइड डोमेन नेम होगा. दैट मीन्स उसके पास बेस यूआरएल होगा, प्लस वो वैल्यू भी होगी जो एचरेफ में स्पेसिफाई की होगी. दैट मीन्स इट्स एक्सेसिबल. सो इट वुड नॉट मैटर कि क्या है नेक्स्ट पेज के अंदर. It will simply send a request to that page and then we can use the callback to pass that page. यहाँ पे एक चीज ये हो सकती है कि कॉल पास करने का तरीका अलग हो सकता है, बिकॉज आपने जैसे कहा कि पेज अलग है ऑल टुगेदर, तो ये शायद लॉजिक ना यूज करें हम जो ऑलरेडी डिफाइन किया है. तो हम क्या कर सकते हैं, हम एक दूसरा फंक्शन बना सकते हैं जिसका नाम हो सकता है पार्स अंडरस्कोर टू, बट वो फिर डिफाइन करना पड़ेगा आपको नीचे, न्यू फंक्शन विद द नेम पार्स टू. गेटिंग मी ऑन दिस?
Yes, yes.
Okay, all right. So, yeah, what I was saying is कि I would really encourage, whenever you have time, please go to the site packages wherein you have installed Scrapy and just give me that screenshot or whatever it is, जहाँ पे ये implementation है follow function का, और उसके अंदर कैसे उन्होंने वो पूरा कंस्ट्रक्ट किया हुआ है बेस यूआरएल एंड कॉन्कैटिनेटिंग इट विद इट नेक्स्ट पेज. ओके, so that's all with respect to crawling through multiple pages. But इसके आगे हम और भी एक चीज डिस्कस कर सकते हैं in combination, which I have also written in this agenda, which is implementing this pagination point. Now, pagination is not present explicitly on this codes to scrape, but no problem. We have many applications ahead, right from Amazon, LinkedIn. मेरे एजेंडा में LinkedIn है, Amazon है. I think अगर if let's say my developer account for Twitter also gets activated by that time, we would like to scrape Twitter also. So you will see a good implementation of pagination. But right now, since we are going through the Scrapy basics and understanding Scrapy basics, we can try to apply pagination here itself with a little bit of workaround. So although we don't have 1, 2, 3 written over here as in pagination, but still the page number gets changed here, right? So all pagination needs is that your URL with each successive or consecutive URL that you are accessing, some value over here gets changed, and mostly the value is related to page number, isn't it? So I mean, like if you go to amazon.com, which I think I am denied this yesterday itself because I was excessively scraping this. So no problem. Let's go to Tor. Okay, so now if you're trying to access amazon.com, it will give you captcha probably because you are using Tor browser. And captcha can see, navigating through captcha is a little tricky thing because if it is a simple implementation like text based captcha, so that is something that normally it's doable. But other than that, there are again services from third party vendors which basically helps you have to integrate with your script. Sometimes you can use some OCR functionality with some tools available in the market. They basically recognize the image which is displayed in the captcha, and then that way it works. So we try to discuss on captcha issues also in our further sessions as expected. This is text-based captcha, which I was talking about. All right. So now you are at amazon.com. Let's say we are discussing about this earbuds over here. So now the reason why I opened this Amazon site is because here there is a proper implementation of this pagination. Okay. So now you can see over here, this is for a specific product, right? But if I would have selected a specific category of product, there you could have seen this pagination implemented. Let's go to books and let me say fiction. Okay, So here we are at the home page, and now you have this 1, 2, 3. Important point to note over here is this is the first page, but there is no reference of page 1 over here. There's no reference of page 1 over here. So let's say we start scraping this start in, and we put this URL as start underscore URLs. Then let me remove this. Okay, and paste it over here. The moment you go to page 2, the URL gets changed, obviously. But the point to note over here is what gets changed over here. This point, page 2, and this point, SR underscore page underscore. These are the things that are getting changed. Let's go to page 3 and try to understand. So this is page 3. Okay, this is page 3 and this point. So even if you keep the text which is in between as same, and just, I mean, this really doesn't matter. Okay, all that you need to do is just change page 2 and page 3 like this. Page equals to 2, page equals to 3. And that's how you can do pagination and navigate from one page to another page by incrementing these page numbers. The rest of the strings will get auto-populated, but you need not worry on that specific part. But until when? There should be some limit, right? Until like how many pages? So here they have present 50. They have mentioned 50. If I go one page back, I don't want to hard code the code always. I mean, that's what I always think about. I should not mention 50 over here or 75 over here. Like over here, they have mentioned 75, and this was our, let's say, if we are on the page 1, what was the count given? Over here, 50. Okay. So at least there are 50 pages as per what I see over here. What I would like to do is I would like to apply, I mean, I would like to get the value over here, like what will be the page count defined as the last page. You see over here, 50. I would first create a script which will scrape until 50 pages. Dynamically, there can be 100 pages ahead of 50, but that's a different use case. Again, you can create a logic that checks the value after, let's say, 50 iterations. Like if this page is still 50 or it has increased to 75. So now 15 or 25 more pages to scrape. Likewise, your script can be dynamically adjusted. But at first instance, when you are page number 1, this is your final value. Final after 50, your script should run 50 times and scrape consecutive 50 pages. Maybe at the 49th page, you can add a logic over there to check this value again if it is still 50 or it has now become to 100. If it has become to 100, you have to calculate the difference. Again, the script executes to 50 more times. Are we getting this point, guys? Am I making sense? Just give me a moment, please. All right, I'm back. Okay, so what we were discussing about this pagination, and I explicitly bought this topic of Amazon because I wanted to explain this scenario. Although we have not implemented Amazon, but as I said, when we'll be doing this, I'll be explaining how to create a robust dynamic script that will keep on scraping until forever, until the last page. I mean, if you are at the third page and if I just want to see the final count, it's still 50. Okay, but things will change. If you are at 25th page, sometimes what happens is it moves to 75. It can go to 100 as well, because at first go it is not showing always the exact same count. Anyways, is this concept clear? Any questions on this part? I'll minimize this meanwhile, and please make sure you use user agents in your script so that you don't get blocked, which we'll be doing it. I mean, you have already used it, and in fact, when we discussed about Beautiful Soup and request, I mentioned how to use user agents, right? So, all right, now let's move to implementing the pagination logic within our Scrapy spider. So over here, I'll say pagination, and how we would be implementing that is we have 10 pages, correct? Time being, for this specific scenario, um, since pagination is not implemented in quotes to scrape.com, right? Pagination is not present over here. If you see, there's no 1, 2, 3 until 10. I'm not sure if we can get this value of 10 from somewhere. If anyone has idea, then let me know, please. Within the DOM, within the document object model, if we get this value of 10th page from somewhere, then do let me know about that. Okay. But since there is no pagination implemented here, time being, we have to mention a hard-coded limit of 10 or 11. So it simply means that once the request is sent to this home page, we can create a new class variable, and let's name that as page number equals to 2. So now we have to send the request to page 2, and I'll comment this section of the code because we are done with this and this specific point. So now we are implementing pagination, and inside pagination, I'll try to construct the fully qualified domain name. I mean the complete URL, FQDN of that URL. So next page, let's call that variable as next page. And here there are two ways to do it. Either you use that start URL, or just copy this part. I'll copy the entire quotes. With quotes, I'll copy, paste it over here. And then I know that it is toscript.com /page/10. Okay, I'll just copy this /page/10, something like this. Now, instead of 10, I know we have defined a variable with the name page number. So I'll just mention that variable page_number. And that's all. I think page number is defined inside this class. So you have to make a reference of this class because it's an instance. It's a class variable. Sorry, it's a class variable. So you have to access that class variable through a class, which is course script. And here we have to mention it as format string because it has a variable inside that string. Now, next page basically resolves to this specific URL. Now, since we have this URL structure with us, we have to make sure that if this value is less than 11. We are hard coding over here at this point. But as I said earlier, how do we get this value of 11 from the DOM of that website is something that to look upon. You think about that. If you have that answer, please let me know. Specifically for this coach2scrape.com. Like if we are at the home page, is there any way we can find the last page through the HTML response? Okay, not through the URL. On the HTML, somewhere is it mentioned over here inside the DOM? Just check on that part. If we get that information, then this can be made as dynamic. Otherwise, if pagination would have implemented, we could have fetched it over here from here. So if coach script spider dot page number is less than 11, what we need to do is we need to send the request to this. We need to send the request to this next page. So I'll say response dot follow. And as usual, like as earlier, line number 46, we'll send the request to the next page. Here we are giving the full path. So it will go to the complete path, send a request, and then we can provide a callback. All right. And yes, I mean, I forgot the yield statement because it needs to return the request. So yield response.follow, next page, comma, callback set.parse. Okay, we have a message. href of page 10 only available at page 9. Yes, yes. So to go until page 9, we can write, I mean, so that is present on page 9. I mean, my point was in page 1, is there a possibility? Because our spider will start scraping from page 1, right? Tomorrow the developer changes the code. Now it will be present at page 25, isn't it? You're getting my point? So our code cannot be changed, right? Every now and then, otherwise it will be a daily task for us. So there's one way of dealing this. I'll give you a hint on API. Okay, this course to Scrape is on open website. Okay, check if you can instead of HTML, check if you can like once you get the response. Um, actually I'll not I'll not discuss on that part because even I need to check. I did that for another website, but I'm not sure about this website if that will work. So let me first do it at my end, then only I can confidently say about it. Okay, but anyways, this is an open point. We have to check on this and let me know if you find any answers. So this is what we did. We send a request to next page, callback self.parse. Okay, but now this is still incomplete because we have to keep on incrementing the page, right? From page 2 to page 3 to page 4, isn't it? Until page 11. So what we'll do is, before this, I have to mention uh, quotes scrape spider dot page number and increment at plus equals to 1. So I'll just increment it by 1 so that it moves ahead to the next page. That's all. Let's run this code. Scrapy crawl quotes scrape. On the 11th page, what follow function will return if you don't define any limit? See, on the 11th page, the follow function will not scrape anything. Will not scrape anything because there's no content over at that point. So it will keep on checking, it will keep on scraping, but the content is not different. But we, as in, you can say, as a robust code, if we have to create, we have to give some proper exceptions, right? Yeah, possibly it will return none, I guess, or it will return, yeah, it might return none in that case. Mm. But since, I mean, it is okay, we can not define any limit also. We can keep on incrementing and then we say that, okay, keep on scraping. And let's say we don't define any condition at this point. We're just doing scraping using for loop. But if even if it is none or if it is any error, we should be applying some exception handling, right? In this case. So whenever an error is encountered or whenever you don't have any page to scrape, you should handle it. We have to handle it, and then we have to apply logging mechanism also. So all of both of this topic, exception handling and logging, is still pending. We have to implement that. And once that is done, we can say that, okay, the code or this specific framework is working as per expectation. And if there is an error, if there is a none object, it is being handled. So we can check if none is returned, we could break the loop. See, none can be returned in any other error situations also. Try to understand that point. See, none will be, it's not like none is returned only when there is no other page to scrape. Let's say some selector gets changed or some another implementation gets changed in the web page, none can be returned. You're getting my point here. And if it is returned, then it becomes false positive, right? It becomes false positive and we won't be able to scrape ahead, even though pages are there ahead of that script. Okay, so I just want to quickly check on this output that we have got, and mostly so it should be good because I can see from the stats. So response status count is 10, 404 is 1. Okay, this is fine. Where is 100? Huh, item script 100. This is okay. So no need to go up and see because just the last port I'll check. Yeah, looks fine. So this pagination is also working as per expectation with this logic. I hope that's clear. Let's move to the next topic. Let's discuss about how we can implement this login functionality. Now, login functionality, more or less, the implementation is same. The implementation is same, more or less, for almost all pages. Because you are sending a post request, right? You are sending a post request. In that, you are sending your username, your password, along with a token. Sometimes the token is CSRF token, sometimes it's some different token. So you have to identify the form data that you are sending as a payload in your post request. If you find that accurately, then you can successfully implement this logic of login functionality. Now, while doing login, there can be some certain divergence implemented, like I said earlier, CAPTCHA and all. They come up while you are trying to log into a website. So that's a different use case. I'll not mix login with CAPTCHA right now. CAPTCHA is a you can say topic of its own, which needs some very dedicated attention. I'll keep it for some separate discussion. So if I have to implement a login functionality with this scraping, all the scraping that we have done. So firstly, let's create a new spider that only does login. and then we'll merge both of these scripts. Okay. So in this website, codes2scrape.com, we have a login page as well, although it's a dummy page. Sorry, it's a dummy page because if you enter anything, and here if you enter anything, really doesn't matter. It will log in. It will still allow you to log in. Okay. So that's why I said it's a dummy page. It's a dummy login mechanism implementation. But we have to understand here how login is working. Like while doing login, you are sending the username, you're sending the password, and then you have to send a token as well. Sometimes you have to basically deal with some cookie as well, or some other JWT token maybe for authorization. So since right now we are dealing with this very basic site, we'll try to understand what exactly needs to be sent in our request, post request, and how do we do it. So for that, let's first create a spider. How do we create spider, guys? Through command line. If I have to create a new spider through command line, then what's the command? Anyone remembers the command? Meanwhile, I'll copy this.
By using Gen Spider.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks for confirming. It's Scrapy, Gen Spider, name of the spider, then URL that you want to scrape. Okay, so you can provide it in quotes. Okay. Now, important thing to note is when you use this command, basically the default template is used for creating your spider. There are four templates. There are four templates in Scrapy through which spider can be created. I think I remember three or two or somewhere: CSV, XML, Basic, and I don't remember one, but there are four. One is CSV, one is XML, one is Basic, and one is, if someone knows, then please help me recall. So four templates are present. If you run this command, the spider gets created with the Basic template. If I hit enter, let's see. So a new spider gets created, login.py. Okay. Uh, let's check the chat. Scrapy Gen Spider. Yeah, that's correct. Okay, all right. So login.py is created, right? So this is your spider. Here we'll be implementing the login functionality. How we'll be implementing? So basically, name is fine, start URL is fine, allow domain is good. Inside the pass function, we'll be writing the code to login. Now, over here, since while login, we are sending the data to the web URL, to the web server. What data we are sending? We are sending credentials. Just I'll go back to the web page. I'll write Ankur. I'll mention password 12345. And when I hit login, just before that, I'll do inspect over here. And I'll go to the network tab. Okay, I'm at the network tab. All right. The moment I hit login, you can see a few components are loaded. I'll just quickly go to the top one. You can see, oh yeah, these are the components I'm referring to. So this login component is important, and this is different for different cases. Okay, so this is different for different cases. Not sure what happened. I just quickly need to, yeah, here it is. It was very zoomed in, so I couldn't see. I hope you can see this login. I would like to click on that. Sorry, single click on that. And here I am interested not in headers. Okay, header is basically that the information that you sent as the header of the post request, but the payload has the information about what information you sent. Now this is a very basic site, so you can see information very crystal clear over here. So over here you can see username as Ankur, password was this, and this was the CSRF token that was used. A CSRF token every time you log in will get changed, correct? Because if I close this, I'll go back to the login page. Over here, I view the page source. And if I see the CSRF token over here, this one, the value is this. Okay, this is the value. If I copy this, paste it inside over here. So this is the CSRF token at the start. Now, if I again hit login, before that, I'll just inspect and go to the network tab. And now I hit login. As you can see, inside the login, this is the CSRF token. I'll copy this one as well and provide it over here. You can see it's changed. So you have to capture the CSRF token along with username and CSRF token first, and then you need to send that request. So to get CSRF token, you basically have to get the selector. So you have to basically get the selector of it, right? And if you see the selector, just do a right click inspect. And now if you try to find the selector for CSRF token, you can write an XPath for this and get the CSRF token value and then use it inside your form data, inside your post request. How to send a post request? We have to use a function called as form request. And then you can send that. Why a form request? Because this is a form. This is an implementation of a form, right? Wherein you are submitting the username, the password. So hence we are using a form request, and through form request, we'll be submitting all of this data as a post request. So now let me quickly go to this login.py, and a few things that I want to fetch is firstly the token I need to get, which is nothing but your CSRF token. Second, I need to get the username, which I need to send. And the third thing, I need to get the password, this token, username, and password. These are the three things that we need to submit the form. And then finally, we will be using, I'll just remove this pass. We will be sending the request, right? So over here, I'll first import from scrapy.http import form request. I'm importing form request from scrapy.http. So this form request basically helped me in sending the post request for that form. So I'll say return form request dot. So here you have a function called as form response. Within that, you have to basically provide the response. What response? The response that you would be getting for the pass function. So you are sending a request to this URL. Not this URL, my bad. This should be your login URL, isn't it? I'll quickly change this. It should be this one. Actually, while creating the spider, I accidentally provided this URL of the home page. So you are sending a request to the login page you will get a response over here in this argument. This response object you have to supply over here like this. Not sorry. Response, comma. And there are a couple of other arguments, as you can see. If I can just remove this banner. So remove a response, then the other argument is form ID. Somewhere you will see form data, which is important for us. So I'll copy this form data, because here you will pass in the token, username, password. And guys, form data is basically a dictionary that you can pass. So in that dictionary, the keys of the dictionary, the naming of the keys of the dictionary is important. You should write exactly as it is, like how it was displayed inside the network tab. If you remember, if you go back to the network tab where it was written as CSRF underscore token. So exactly it should be as it is. So the key should be CSRF underscore token. That should be the key, and the value should be token. So I'll just copy over here, token, comma, username, and copy it. And the value should be this, that we'll be getting, because every user will know their username and password, right? So we'll be directly hard coding it. In an ideal scenario, it's not good to hard code these secrets. So what you should do is you can keep another file over here, let's say some secrets file, and then you can use the environment.env Python package over here. So those secrets basically then get stored into environment variable, and those environment variable can be fetched using the .env package. I think you must be using it in your live projects in a very similar way, possibly. If not, then just check on the .env package, .env package in Python, which helps us achieve, which helps us fetch the secrets and store it inside the environment variable. So CSRF token, username, and then the password. So we'll copy this. And this is the password. All right. So this will be the request that we are sending, but it is a post request. And over here, what should happen after sending the request? We have to perform scraping, right? So we have to give call to a function. So we'll say callback is equals to, there's an argument called as callable as well, but we'll see that in a different use case. But right now we are using a callback argument, and here we'll say self dot, let's say the name of the function is start scraping. Okay, that function is not yet defined. I'll define it in a moment. So that start scraping function is not defined yet. Callback is equal to self dot start scraping. Now over here, I quickly define that function, and that function will also be having itself as a first keyword and the response as an object, and then time being I'll just mention pass over here. All right, so we have a parse function which will be called first, then it will do all of its stuff, and then once we are logged in, it will call to start scraping function, which will have a scraping logic. But right now I just mentioned pass over here. Now first thing, I need to get the token. How? It's simple stuff, because we know token is present in this page over here. So what we'll be doing is we'll be just inspecting this element, inspecting this web page, and over here, so tokens, CSR of tokens will be hidden element, right? So the best approach would be to go to the page source. Just a minute, I'll just quickly refresh it. Maybe the token was invalid in that case. Now I'll go to the page source, check out for CSRF token. We can create an XPath for this. We can create an XPath for this, right? Now, let's copy this URL. Go to your Visual Studio Code. What I'm trying to do over here is I'll send a request to this login page, Scrapy shell, and sending the request to this login page. Okay. So if everything is fine, you can also check this view response. Okay. Just so as to understand that, okay, the correct page is being script. So this is your page. Okay, looks fine. So now you can do response dot xpath. I want to get that CSRF token, right? So for that, just give me a moment, guys. Someone at the door. I'll be back. All right, guys, I'm back. So, uh, where were we? Okay, we were basically defining the XPath for the CSRF token, right? So CSRF token, I think I've opened it over here. And how to define the XPath for this? Okay, so let's try to run this. I'll try to make it a little small so that I can see somewhere until this point. So response.xpath, this is a form tag, right? So /form, and then we are basically now here you can use the action. You can use the action attribute as well. You can use the method attribute as well. I mean, that is up to you. So you can use that. So I am saying, let's say I am interested in the action attribute. @action is equals to what's that, /login, and after that I want to access the input tag, which is, let's say, of the name CSRF token. CSRF underscore token. I am trying to be as robust as possible in terms of XPath so that it goes exactly to that element, even if multiple implementations are done at the same page. And I want to get the value of it. So /value. If I run this using the get method, I am getting the CSRF token. Yes, I am getting it. And I'll just maximize this now and copy this and paste it. I mean, I'll copy this, sorry, not that. I'll copy this and then paste it inside the token. Username, we know what would be the username. So every user will know their usernames. Let's say demo_1, and the password is demo_1. So this username, this password, and the important thing is this token that we would get from here. We would be supplying it over here and start scraping. Instead, start scraping, let me print something so that we just come to know that scraping has started. All right, once we run this code. And now let's run this login spider. It's login, Scrapy crawl. I think I have named it as login. Okay, let's go to the top of this statistics, and scraping has started. I can see over here, which means it has successfully went through the parse function, and I was able to, as you can see over here, the important thing to understand here is when I send the request to https goes to scrape.com/login, okay, it has redirected it. 302 means redirection. It has redirected it to codes to scream.com, which is your home page. 302 is redirection. Okay. So you got a successful response from this login page, but then it later redirected it to home page. And this was a post request, isn't it? And then finally you were able to start scraping, which it executed at this point. Now, all that we have to do is whatever logic that we have written over here inside the parse function, all that we can copy and paste it over here inside the login.py, but this time inside the start scraping function. Okay. There is slight errors which we'll resolve in just a moment, but then what we are doing is we are just defining all the logic inside the start scraping function. And the error is for this, which is items is equals to quotes demo item. Now we have to import this class from items.py. So I just mention from .items import, I think quotes demo. Yeah. So this error has gone. And this code script spider was the name of the class actually. It was the name of the class initially, but now this class will be login spider. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll say login spider dot page number. Okay, dot page number. Do we have the page number variable defined over here? I don't think so. So we should have a page number variable also defined over here, which is equals to 2. As per, I'm doing exactly the same way as we have done it over here, this time with the login functionality. Hopefully this is fine. So here we are starting with the login page. Let's save this and run this to see if we are able to scrape the entire page. So there seems to be some error. Okay, so this error is because I have accidentally not changed this value. So it should be login spider dot page number. Okay. I'll run this one more time. CSRF token form data is CSRF token. So the error is form request dot form response form data is CSRF token. Okay, I have not end the what you say dictionary, right? Or did I? No, I end the dictionary over here. Okay. Callback is equals to self start scraping. Callback is equals to self start scrape. Form data is CSR token. So token is the variable that I am providing, right? Responses distance. Well, looks okay to me. Mm, did I import form request? Yeah, import form request as well. Form request dot. There's one chat. Token will create after login. No. See, after login, the token will change actually. So we are taking the token beforehand. When we send a request, oh yeah, okay, through this URL, we are sending a request. Okay, whatever response that we are getting, it will have that CSRF token. We are fetching that token inside the token variable. Then we are sending a post request at line number 18 with the token that we captured. Getting my point? Oh, okay. CSRF. Okay, thanks for confirming. So I'm a little confused now. Def parse, inside def parse we have a return form request. This format I think looks fine to me. The problem is with response, comma form data, CSRF token, username is username, password is password, and that's all. Dictionary ends over here. Then you are giving a callback to self.start scraping, which is also fine. Now what problem it has? And the error which it has given is line 7. No, this is form.py, not line 76, line 18. Line 18 in parse. This one. Let me see. Let me do one thing. Maybe because of this, I'll try to bring it in the same line. Okay. Sorry, username comma password like this. All back. Okay. Hmm. Let's run this one more time. I've not changed anything. It's just like there was some I have written it in separate lines earlier. I've just made it in 2 lines now. That's all I have done. I'll start the crawl scrap spider again. Let's see this time. We are still item scrap count is only 10. Why? It should be ideally 100. That means only first page got scrapped. But anyways, this, okay, I can see some scrapped data, but that is for last page, I guess. Steve Martin. Let's quickly verify. I think that's last page. No, that is first page, last quote. But it did not move ahead after that. It did not move ahead to the next page. And what's the error? Again, the error is with that line number 18.
I think a second iteration doesn't get any form element.
Sorry, second.
Iteration it doesn't get any form element. It is raise value error. No form element found in is there in response.
Value error. Where exactly you can see here? Value
Yeah.
error. No form element found in this uh, page for page 2. But what we are saying is, we are saying, logically, what we are trying to do is that once we are sending this request to this URL, it's calling the pass function. Response is present inside the pass function. We are trying to log in. Once the login is done, the callback is handed over to new function, start scraping. So actually, start scraping should have the response of which URL? It should have the response of the home page, isn't it? You're getting my point? So the response of home page, which means page which has 10 codes, so it has nothing to do with the codes, nothing to do with the login. So ideally, it should start scraping from line number 30. You're getting my point, what I'm trying to say? This value error over here, no form element found in /page/2. Why it is showing /page/2?
We hard coded page number two. Sir, we
Hard
hard coded
coding
page
the
number two.
page number 2 over here.
So
Yeah,
can
so
we release?
Uncle, can you go little more, like little down? I think we are calling pass function here.
is it just a
On line
minute?
number 62, I think.
62.
62. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So I think
That's a very good catch. Very good catch. Thank you so much. Actually, when we copied, we have to change it to start scraping. Start_scraping. Because now it will call back to this function which is responsible for scraping and not the pass function. Since it was calling to the pass function, login, and that's the reason of the value error actually. Okay. Sorry. So let's quickly run this one more time. Scrapy crawl login. Okay, that was the only issue, but I mean the major issue, I can say. Thank you. Thanks for highlighting that point. So over here, I'll just quickly walk through the flow so that even, I'll also recall what we have exactly did. We basically created a login spider, which starts from the login page, sends the request. Then inside the pass function, we are capturing the CSRF token. Username password is what we are providing from our side. And then we are sending a post request using form request.from response function. Here we are sending the form data as a payload until this point. And then once the post request is sent and we are logged in and we are at the home page, that time we want a callback to a new function, which is start scraping, which we have defined over here, which actually is responsible for scraping the new page, the home page. So start scraping will have the response of the home page with all those 10 codes. And now from here onwards, this is the same thing that we have already seen. We have we have defined CSS selectors for code author tags. We are running it in for loop. So every time the loop runs, 10 times the loop runs, it will yield those items. And then it will move to the next page using the pagination logic that we have implemented. And important thing is, when it moves to the next page, we are incrementing the page number by 1. And then what we are doing is we are sending a request to the next page. So initially we are at the home page, right? Initially we are at the home page. So now what will happen is once we get the reference of the next page, we are sending a request to the next page. But what to do at the next page? You have to call back the parsing function, scraping function, which is start scraping. So it acts as a recursive function in this case. All right, with that said, I think we have implemented this logic. Any questions so far on this part? Any suggestions on this? No questions, no suggestions. Let's move ahead. So right now the logging functionality is implemented. Then we have to discuss about how we can bypass restrictions using user agents, because that's one of the topic that I think I have mentioned at the start of the session, bypassing restrictions. So bypassing restrictions, it simply means that since you would be scraping websites which are real time, and you would be scraping, continuously scraping them, sending requests, multiple requests. So there is a high possibility that it might get blocked. Just a second, guys. I'll be back in a minute. Okay, guys, I'm back. So bypassing restrictions is what we were discussing. We can define user agents, and this Scrapy has settings.py file, and within which you can define user agents, you can define proxy. Both user agents and proxy can be defined as middlewares. So all that you have to do is, like over here, user agents are nothing but identity of your browser, right? So if you are trying to access google.com, amazon.com, or any other .com, these websites will try to identify who are accessing them. So these user agents are basically kind of identity of those web browsers. So what we are trying to do is, we are trying to somehow we're trying to spoof that identity. Okay, so Google might think, or amazon.com might think, that it's not a script, it's not a bot, but instead it's uh, it's actually Google who is scraping their website. So if we are using user agent of Google, or if you're using any other user agents, then we are trying to spoof that identity so as to trick the target website that this is not a bot, or this is not a script who is trying to scrape the web application. And where would we get this user agents? We would basically, I mean, if we just do a quick Google search, what's my user agent? So this is the user agent of this browser. You can simply copy this and then apply it inside the settings.py file. So you can open this, and at the start, there should be some setting related to it. You can see the user agent setting. So you can provide that over here. So you can define this user agent variable is equals to this value. So now when you run the script, your script would be deemed as authentic and it would not be banned, or it would not be, you can say, blocked by the target website. One of the ways, this is one of the ways. It's not robust enough, because if you send 1,000 requests, like let's say concurrent request equal to 1,000, and if you keep on using this user agent, then of course your script will be blacklisted or it will get blocked. So you have to use a combination of user agent and proxy rotation to try to and then again you have to be very optimum in terms of how many requests you are sending to that website. So all of these parameters, most of them we discussed on, I think, day one of Scrapy, when we actually were discussing individual files within it. So what I'll be doing is, with this specific user agent, I try to run this script one time and see if there is any issues. Meanwhile, it's being executed. I'll also touch upon one more important aspect. So there are certain, you can say, packages for user agent as well, developed by Python developers and hosted on the pypy.org repository. These Python packages have multiple user agents. Like a few of them would be for Safari, a few of them would be for Firefox, and some of them would be for Chrome. So it's a kind of group of user agents. And now what it will do is it will basically do a round robin mechanism to select the user agents for the different requests that would be sent by your Scrapy spider. Okay, so that way, that is also one of the good ways, because you are not basically relying on a single user agent for a request, but then multiple user agents are being used consecutively in a round robin fashion. How do we get this? So all that you have to do is, if you just write Scrapy user agents, see, some of them are obsolete, they don't work, but some of them still are available and they work fairly good. These are not 100% working ways, but somehow they do provide some efficient workaround. Uh, Scrapy user agents. So you can see multiple of them. I am actually interested in. So this one is last updated in 2018. So I'm not sure this one would work as efficiently. You also have to see which user agents and which proxy packages are being updated recently. Okay. You can check out on the release history and you can always see, okay, when was the last time this package was updated? So quite a while, 2018. So you would like to check on some other options. Let's check on user-agents. Sorry, user-agents. And this is from 2020, and you can try this one. It's a Python library that provides an easy way to identify, detect devices like mobile, etc., etc. It does the same thing, but these are just like group of user agents. You can see over here the implementation of it as well. All right. So all that you have to do is you have to install this user agent on your virtual environment. Meanwhile,
Sir, one question: why user agent is this important for us?
see, like when we try to access this site, pypy.org, okay?
And when to use that?
Yeah. So when we are trying to access this site, pypy.organization, okay? this site basically tries to identify who is trying to access this site, like which device. So right now I'm at HP laptop. Which browser on this device is trying to access this site? When it identifies that, okay, it's basically a Edge browser that is trying to access the site, it deems it as safe and it allows it to access. But in scraping, we create a script, and that script basically scrapes the data. And most of the websites in today's times, they don't want their data to be scraped, or they want it to be scraped, but in a very limited manner. There should not be heavy usage of script so that a lot of amount of data is being scraped. That's what their intention is. To just achieve that objective, okay, what they do is they try to blacklist or they try to block any other entity other than script, other than your browser or other than the devices. If it doesn't find the user agents, then it will block it. User agent is kind of an identity. Like I have an identity, I have an Aadhaar card. That's why anyone will come to know. That's when anyone will come to know that, okay, I exist or I used to exist based on that specific information, that card. Likewise, user agent, for you can see there are multiple user agent. The one that I have just created, the one that we just saw. Just give me a moment. This something related to banner already came up. So now user agent for Chrome. Okay. So when you run this on Google Chrome, so what are the latest user agents for Chrome? If you click on this, you can see all the list of user agents that are available for Chrome. Let's say for Windows 10. If you're running a Chrome browser on Windows 10, this is the user agent. If you're running Chrome on Windows 11, this is the user agent. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to use this user agent in my Python script, in my Scrapy project, so that Amazon.com thinks that actually a Chrome browser is trying to access it from a Windows 11 device, and it will not block it. It will allow it to scrape. Because see, Amazon.com or any other .com, they want Google to scrape their sites. Otherwise, how would they be listed on Google search? When you write Amazon over here, you get results related to Amazon, isn't it? That simply means that someone is scraping Amazon. Who is scraping Amazon? Google is scraping Amazon. And Amazon has to allow Google to scrape its entire websites, right? Entire site, it has to allow Google so that it gets listed over here. So what we are doing is we are using the Google user agent, so that Amazon will come to know that, okay, it's a google.com which is scraping, but actually behind the scenes, it's a Python script who is scraping Amazon.com. Are you able to get this point?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So likewise, there are multiple user agents. You can see Chrome. If you're using Chrome on an iOS or an Android, these are the user agents that you can use. So this package of user agents, what it does is it's again a combination of multiple user agents on it's a combination of multiple user agents of browsers on multiple devices. Let's say Chrome on iOS, Chrome on Windows, Chrome on Mac. All of these user agents are together in a bundled format in a package, and we are using that package in our Scrapy project. And then all of these user agents will be used in a recursive manner. Like for one request, one of them will be used, and for another request, some other user agent will be used, so that there is no possibility in any which way that the target website blocks your script from scraping. All right. So what we can do is we can copy this and I can go, okay, before that I actually executed my script with a user agent that I've hard coded over here, right? So I'll just quickly see my results. Everything looks fine. So the user agent was working okay. Anyways, without user agent also the script was working fine. So actually we couldn't get to know like, okay, whether the user agent is really working or not, because this site was working without user agent also, because the site is meant for scraping. So it's a test site. But anyways, I hope you got to know the perspective over here of how to use this user agent variable and what should go inside it. Now, the other point over here is if you do a pip install user hyphen agents, it will install this package to the virtual environment. And while it is installing, I'll actually like to go over here and see how it will be used. So usage. So over here, you can see from user agents, import parse. And now you can import the user agent over here in this way. Okay, so the way to import or use this user agent is you have to import this. Then you have to define which user agents you would like to use. Okay. So you would like to use, let's say, for Samsung Galaxy S3 or any other user agent. This one is can be used for Kindle, for Windows 8 device, and so on. Likewise, you can use it. It's just plain Python script. But I would like to give you another example. I'll go back one more step. I think the one user agent, yeah, this is the user agent that we initially saw. I'll copy this. The way of using this specific package is a little different. You are using this downloader middlewares. So over here, downloader middlewares is basically a variable in Python present in settings.py file. So if you're using Scrapy version greater than 1.0, you will use this methodology to use this package. And if you're using Scrapy version less than 1.0, then this would be the methodology. All right. So we'll just quickly see whether the package was downloaded. Looks like package is downloaded. Okay. And over here, I'll also check what is the version of my Scrapy. Of course, it will be more than 1.0. I think it should be version 2 or something. Scrapy 2.11.1. That's the recent version. So how do I, firstly, I need to install that library, right? So how do I install it? By using pip install Scrapy user agent. Paste it over here. Enter. All right, it's done. Next thing is downloader underscore middleware. Copy this part, paste it inside your settings.py file. But where you have to check, because there is already a downloader middleware, this portion. So just below this, you can define it over here like this. And I think you know that what this means. 400 means that it has execution priority of 400. This means it doesn't have a priority at all, won't run. Okay. So this specific middleware will run. This middleware will basically give call to the actual package of Scrapy user agents that you have just installed inside the site packages folder of your virtual environment. All right, with that said, what we can do is, just for testing purpose, we can comment this user agent that was hard coded and try to run this with the user agent that we just installed. You can see these multiple user agents right now. These are the user agents which is trying to check which one is valid. And let's wait for it to complete the execution. It found one user agent, as you can see, this one. This is a user agent in action right now. And then it's able to get the result. So in this specific execution, you saw, okay, we are able to scrap all the 100 items, fine. But the important thing to understand here is, if I scroll to the top, which user agent was selected? This user agent was selected for scraping purpose. Out of multiple user agents that were evaluated, if you just scroll up, these are the user agents that were evaluated and they were deemed as unsupported browser type. As you can see, there are so many. All right. So this way, we were able to scrape through user agents. Any questions so far? No questions? Let's move ahead. So what we will be doing is
Can one device have multiple user agents?
for multiple browsers, yes. Let's say, for example, you have a Chrome, you have an Edge on the same machine. They can have different user agents. Chrome can have its own agents. Edge will have its own agent. Mostly, so what happens is that these user agents are not unique for unique devices. I mean, sorry, let me put it in a right word. Let's say, for example, this one, Mozilla 5.0 Windows NT, this user agent can be used by Firefox, can be used by Chrome. You can see over here, KHTML, like Gecko. Gecko means Firefox. Chrome can also use this. Safari can use this. Edge can use this. So the same user agent can be used by 2 browsers or 3 browsers of like Firefox, Chrome, Safari, etc. Likewise, there are other user agents as well, and all of them can be used. It all depends what is written over here. You're getting my point? Like this user agent is meant for Windows NT device 10.0 means Windows 10. Okay, it's meant for Apple WebKit means your Mac device. Then it can be used by Firefox, by Chrome, and by Safari and by Edge browsers. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So let's move to the next topic. The next topic is we discussed user agents and we will discuss proxy now. So proxy is one another important concept which will help us to bypass restrictions in an efficient way. Proxy, in a very simple term, I think every one of us would be aware because in one or the other way we have used proxies either in organizations or in even like VPNs if we have used on your personal machines. They basically create a secure tunnel, right? And basically your own IP address gets hidden and you try to do some kind of, I would not say identity theft, but then you're trying to get another IP address for your device through which you are accessing the external web. So proxy agents or proxies basically are group of IP addresses that you would use to access through to the external web. There are Python packages provided for this purpose, and there are third-party services as well. Third-party services, when we'll be discussing on this part, we'll have to discuss about not only proxy, we'll have to discuss about how they also provide CAPTCHA services, how to avoid CAPTCHA issues. So specifically for this part that I have highlighted on the board, This third-party services, I will not discuss today because anyways, we won't be able to cover in the next 15-20 minutes. But yes, Python packages is something that we will discuss right now, how to use proxies use by installing Python package. So it's the same, almost same concept of how we did with user agents. We will basically install Python package called, so let me go to Google and search over here in PyPy repository. So I'll say Scrapy proxy. There are tool and there is pool. So I normally get confused in either of them. So there's a package called as pool. Firstly, we'll see that it's dated 2020, and now there is a package called as tool. So I think should be tool as well. Scrapy proxies tool, which is again, it's a very old package. So let's use proxy pool. And there are many other packages. I mean, you can test and evaluate. This is just trial and error, guys. There's no fixed way. There, many of the proxies are obsolete. They don't even work, and you might see that okay, this proxy package doesn't work. It's just because the proxy doesn't are not active as in today. They're very outdated. They're old, so they are decommissioned. So you have to do a lot of trial and error to determine which package is most suited as in today, as far as as far as proxy rotation is concerned. Um, However, the package that I am selecting right now is one of the packages that I've used earlier, which has worked for me in the past. But today it will work or not is a little question that we'll just see if it gets answered or not. So I'll copy this. It's a simple proxy package, as that's what they mentioned. How to use this has not provided a project description, no problem. Let's go to, I think, the home page where you'll find more information, which is your GitHub. How to use it, they have mentioned the command line. This is the middleware that you have to define. So this is the variable that you have to mention. So what I'll do is firstly, I'll copy this. I'll copy this and install it in my virtual environment. What's this? Pip installs Scrapy proxy pool. Most of the requirements are satisfied. Maybe it's related to the dependencies. Okay, anyways, it got installed. The next thing is you have to go to your settings.py file and you would like to add a variable over here at the top as per their documentation. They want this middleware, enable this middleware by adding the following settings to your settings.py. So this is explicitly meant for Scrapy package. Okay, that's hence the name Scrapy proxy pool. So I'll add it over here. Next thing is they are expecting us to enable this middleware as well. So I've already the downloader middleware that I just created for user agent. What I can do is I can copy this and go to the downloader middleware. This part, this was for user agents. If you remember, I'll comment it because I'm right now testing the proxy. Just give me a minute, guys. I'll be back. Aro. All right, I'm back. So now Scrapy proxy pool middleware has been added, and then let's save this. And let's run this to see how proxies will work. You'll get to see in the terminal as earlier, like what will be the different proxies that will be used for accessing the website. So Scrapy crawl login. Now you see all the proxies are being evaluated. These are the proxy free from the free proxy list. Whichever will work, it will start scraping. Okay, here it says no proxies available. Try to download with the host IP. Now you see over here, this proxy package has no proxy which is currently being we can use as of now. So what it did is it tried to scrape for the host IP address. So as I said, this is a little ambiguous situation wherein you won't be able to say that this package will work and this will not. It's all up to the research that you would have to do on the repository. There are so many packages out there and you have to actually test it for your use case. These are open source free, so we cannot actually say that which one will work. All right, it's still in the progress. So it will keep on evaluating, guys. I mean, it has so many proxies to evaluate, but you can see the logic over here. It is trying to evaluate all proxies and it will then try to check whether it would be able to scrap with them. Right now it has scrapped until page 9. Page 10 is pending, I guess. Huh. Page 10 is pending and you can see it's done. It's just done now. Okay. Any questions, guys, on this part related to proxy package that we just used? No questions? All well? Okay. So there are multiple proxy list. If you have to search, so you can search it from here or you can search it from GitHub. GitHub has a lot of proxy list. So if I go to GitHub, or let me do a Google search actually, that will be better. GitHub proxy list. So there are many, you can say repositories, which some of them are very, you can see 2 hours ago. Like this one are the latest, almost like 2 hours ago, 2 months ago, and 2 hours ago, few of them. So you can try with these. Like there are high chances that these would work in our use cases. How to download it and how to use it, anyways, will be there always in the README file. As you can see, this one, pre-proxy list. As you can see, these are the repositories 50 minutes ago. Try these ones. They should work, hopefully. All right. I'll move to the next topic, or let's do one thing. I'll wrap up for today, and we'll start with tomorrow with the new topic, wherein I would be implementing all of this with Amazon, I'll also try to implement MongoDB as well. So firstly, what I'll do is I'll implement the MongoDB use case for this specific project, and I'll complete it end to end, and I'll upload it to GitHub. After that, I'll start with the Amazon, and I'll take from tomorrow onwards, I will be focusing more on dynamic websites which will be difficult to scrape. Now, Scrapy fundamentals, I think some of them would be clear. Now focus will be more on to how to implement this onto real-time use cases, real-time websites. If you have any specific website, I'm always happy to deal with those websites, but just let me know beforehand so that I get some testing time to play around with those websites so that we don't waste a lot of time while troubleshooting in the live sessions. Any specific requirement, if you have, I'm always happy to help. But as I said, just give me a little in advance so that I can try my hands on that specific web application. With that said, I'll wrap up for today. I hope the yesterday's assignments that I gave, there were two of them. Were you able to attempt it at your side? Yes, no. Okay. Okay, thank you so much. So I hope the GitHub links are created for all of you. Like you might have created the GitHub links. So were you able to send these links to Aman so that they can keep a record and then we can have a look at it? If not, then please send it these links and make all the repositories as public. Make all the repositories as public, whatever you are doing, and would like to see exactly how are the different implementations from your end. So for today also, I mean, if you were able to do, you can say all the assignments, I have one website to be scrapped for today. Let me just quickly